Nestled deep within the rural stretches of Yamanashi, a solitary house stands on the edge of the infamous Aokigahara forest. The air here is thick with silence, broken only by the distant rustling of ancient trees that seem to whisper secrets to the wind. Locals speak in hushed tones about this small, weathered dwelling, noting that no tenant has ever lasted more than 3 nights within its walls. Shadows linger unnaturally long around the house, and an unshakable sense of dread clings to its crooked eaves. It is a place where the boundary between legend and reality blurs, and where every night brings new, unspeakable terrors. For 10 long years, the house has been a revolving door of tenants, each family vanishing as swiftly as they arrived. Most do not last beyond the 3rd night, abandoning their belongings in a desperate flight beneath the shroud of darkness. Whispers linger in the empty halls, but those who return refuse to utter a single word about what they endured. The silence is as chilling as the house itself, fueling rumors that something unspeakable waits within its walls. The real estate company, growing increasingly desperate, slashed the rent again and again, hoping to entice new tenants into the vacant house. Yet, no matter how low the price dropped, the pattern remained unbroken. Each new resident vanished after only a brief stay, leaving behind hastily packed belongings and unanswered questions. Whispers spread among neighbors, fueling rumors of a curse that clung to the walls. The house itself seemed to repel all who entered, its empty rooms echoing with secrets too dreadful to name. There was one tenant who defied explanation. On his 3rd night in the house, he disappeared without a single clue, as if swallowed by the darkness itself. His belongings remained perfectly arranged, untouched by human hands, as though he had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. The silence that followed seemed to seep into the walls, amplifying the sense of something deeply wrong lurking within the house. The police scoured the small apartment, searching for any sign of a struggle, but the rooms remained eerily undisturbed. With no clues left behind, suspicion turned toward the infamous forest that loomed at the edge of town, a place whispered about in fearful tones. Investigators theorized that he had wandered into those ancient, twisted woods, drawn by forces unknown. The forest's reputation for swallowing the lost only deepened the chilling uncertainty surrounding his disappearance. The forests that encircle this place are shrouded in a chilling reputation, whispered about in hushed tones by those who live nearby. Tales speak of countless souls who ventured into the tangled woods only to vanish without a trace. The trees seem to swallow all light, their twisted branches forming grotesque silhouettes against the night sky. Locals warn that the forest is alive with secrets, its shadows concealing horrors that defy explanation. To enter alone is to risk being claimed by the darkness, joining the ranks of those lost forever. Shinji and Kori Shinoda, drawn by the promise of a fresh start, stumble upon an unbelievably affordable listing. The house, shrouded in silence and shadow, seems to beckon with the promise of new beginnings. Eager to escape the burdens of their past, the couple moves in, blissfully ignorant of the darkness that lingers within its walls. Unbeknownst to them, the house's history is steeped in whispers and dread, its secrets waiting patiently in the gloom. The journey into rural Yamanashi begins with roads that seem to shrink with every passing mile, swallowed by dense, ancient forests pressing in from all sides. Shadows stretch across the cracked pavement, and the outside world fades into a hush, broken only by the distant calls of unseen creatures. As the car winds deeper into the wilderness, the air thickens with an unspoken dread, each turn revealing only more tangled trees and the suffocating sense of being utterly alone. The property lies ahead, hidden somewhere within this labyrinth of darkness, waiting in silence for their arrival. An eerie silence blankets the corridor, broken only by the soft, hesitant footsteps of Cory and the faint panting of their loyal dog, Hachi. The darkness presses in from all sides, thick and suffocating, swallowing even the faintest glimmers of light. Each shadow seems to writhe with unseen intent, amplifying the subtle unease that coils in Cory's chest. With every step, the oppressive atmosphere grows heavier, as if the very walls are watching, waiting for something to emerge from the gloom. As the visitor steps onto the creaking porch, the real estate agent greets them with a practiced smile that never quite reaches her wary eyes. Her words are measured, carefully sidestepping the house's shadowed corners as she speaks of recent renovations, fresh paint to mask old stains, new locks to replace the ones that never seemed to hold. She mentions the previous owner only in passing, her tone clipped, as if lingering too long on the subject might invite something unwelcome. The air is thick with unspoken stories, and every polite gesture seems to conceal a deeper unease. At first glance, the house exudes a sense of tradition, its architecture echoing the quiet dignity of old Japan. The floor is covered with pristine tatami mats, their woven surface still crisp and unmarked by time. A gentle aroma of wood mingles with the sharper scent of recent renovations, hinting at both history and change. The air feels almost too still, as if the walls themselves are holding their breath, waiting for something unseen to stir. Hachi stands rigid at the threshold, his body trembling as he fixes his gaze down the endless corridor. No matter how softly his name is called, the dog refuses to take a single step forward, his eyes wide with a silent terror only he seems to sense. The bedroom at the end of the hallway remains untouched, shrouded in a darkness that seems to pulse and breathe. Shadows curl along the warped walls, and the air grows colder, as if something unseen waits just beyond the reach of the dim light. In that oppressive silence, Hachi's fear becomes a warning, one that chills the marrow and unsettles the soul. The tour of the house begins with rooms freshly renovated, their walls gleaming under shafts of sunlight that pierce through spotless windows. Each space seems carefully restored, yet the air carries a faint chill that sunlight cannot dispel. The real estate agent's voice wavers, betraying a subtle unease as Hachi's gaze lingers too long on certain corners, as if sensing something unseen. Shadows stretch along the warped floorboards, and the silence between their footsteps grows heavier with each passing moment. In this seemingly perfect home, an undercurrent of dread quietly seeps through the cracks. As the agent's footsteps fade into the distance, a heavy silence settles over Shinji and Cory. The forest, once held at bay, now seems to press closer, its gnarled branches clawing at the edges of the house. Shadows stretch and twist across the walls, swallowing the last traces of comfort. Each creak and whisper from the darkness outside sharpens their sense of isolation, as if the world beyond the windows has vanished, leaving only the suffocating embrace of the woods. As dusk descends, the gentle hush of the countryside settles over the land, broken only by the soft rustle of belongings being unpacked. The air is thick with the scent of earth and distant pine, each breath carrying the promise of tranquility. Shadows stretch across the fields, and the forest beyond stands motionless, its ancient trees watching in silence. In this moment, the world feels suspended, untouched by time, as evening's stillness seeps into every corner of the home and heart alike. As night descends, the world outside fades into a suffocating silence, broken only by the distant creaks of an old house settling. Shadows pool in every corner, But the hallway seems to swallow the light entirely, its darkness far denser than anywhere else. Corey stands frozen, her breath shallow, an uneasy chill crawling up her spine. The oppressive quiet presses in, making the darkness feel alive, as if something unseen waits just beyond the edge of her vision. As midnight settles over the warped corridors of the old house, Shinji and Corey drift into uneasy sleep, clinging to the illusion of safety behind thin walls. Outside their door, Hachi sits in the gloom, his eyes wide and unblinking, every shadow twisting with silent menace. The oppressive silence is broken only by distant, unnatural creaks, as if the house itself is breathing. In the darkness, something stirs, an ancient presence, watching, waiting for the veil of night to deepen. The fragile peace of the first night is nothing but a cruel mirage, soon to be shattered by horrors lurking just beyond their fragile sanctuary. At the stroke of midnight, Corey is jolted from uneasy dreams by the faint, deliberate creak of floorboards. Each footstep echoes through the darkness, growing closer, then fading into an oppressive silence that feels almost unnatural. Hachi, usually calm, stands rigid and alert, his fur bristling as he stares into the blackness beyond the doorway. The quiet that follows is suffocating, as if the house itself is holding its breath, waiting for something unseen to emerge from the shadows. A faint, unsettling odor drifts through the bedroom, barely noticeable at first, yet impossible to ignore. It carries a sickly sweetness, mingled with something rotten, as if the air itself is tainted by a presence unseen. Corey's breath catches, heart pounding, as the scent lingers just long enough to plant a seed of dread. Then, as suddenly as it arrived, the smell dissipates, leaving only a cold, crawling unease in its wake. As dawn breaks, the house is bathed in a deceptive calm, its halls silent and still. Yet beneath this veneer of peace, Corey's nerves remain taut, haunted by memories of unseen terrors lurking in the shadows. Hachi, ever watchful through the long night, now moves with heavy steps, his eyes clouded by fatigue. The oppressive atmosphere has not lifted. It clings to every corner, whispering that something sinister endures just out of sight. In this uneasy quiet, the sense of dread only deepens, promising that the horrors are far from over. As morning breaks, the house is shrouded in uneasy silence. Hachi tries to lose himself in daily routines, hoping that the memory of last night's chilling encounter will fade with the daylight. Yet, an unspoken dread lingers, and he finds himself steering clear of the hallway bedroom, its door now a silent threat. Each ordinary task feels heavy, as if the shadows themselves are watching, waiting for the sun to set once more. As dusk settles, an unnatural silence blankets the forest, swallowing the last traces of warmth from the air. The house, once a sanctuary, now feels colder with every passing minute, its walls echoing with an uneasy stillness. Hachi, usually calm, begins to tremble and whimper, his eyes darting toward unseen corners where the shadows seem to writhe and stretch. The oppressive atmosphere thickens, as if something ancient and malevolent is drawing near, feeding on the growing fear within these haunted halls. Night falls once more, and with it, the unsettling odor returns. Thicker, more pungent than before. Corey and Shinji exchange uneasy glances, each trying to dismiss the creeping dread that coils in their chests. They tell themselves it must be the scent of paint or varnish, remnants of the building's recent renovations. Yet, beneath their words, an unspoken fear lingers, as if the darkness itself is exhaling something unnatural into their room. The tension in the house thickens as Hachi, usually calm, begins to whine and bark relentlessly at the shadowy corridor. Shinji and Kori, unsettled by the dog's agitation, muster the courage to investigate, their footsteps echoing in the oppressive silence. Despite searching every corner, they find nothing but the suffocating darkness pressing in around them. As they turn to leave, Kori catches a fleeting glimpse of a twisted, dark shape lurking in the mirror, its form barely distinguishable from the shadows. The air grows colder, and an unspoken dread settles over them, hinting that something unnatural is watching from beyond. As the night deepens, the couple attempts to brush off the unsettling events, whispering reassurances to each other in the dim glow of their lantern. Yet, the oppressive silence lingers, thick and suffocating, as if the darkness itself is holding its breath. Hachi, their loyal companion, paces restlessly, his ears pricked toward unseen threats lurking just beyond the walls. No matter how they try to convince themselves otherwise, the air remains heavy with dread, and the shadows seem to pulse with a life of their own. Sleep, when it comes, is shallow and haunted by the echo of things left unseen. As dawn breaks on the third day, Kori's anxiety gnaws at him with renewed intensity. The strange, cloying smell that first unsettled him has not faded, lingering in every corner of the house, like a silent warning. Shinji tries to reassure him, dismissing the unease as nothing more than the ordinary creaks and musty scents of an old home. But Kori cannot shake the sense that something unseen is watching, lurking just beyond the reach of the morning light. The oppressive atmosphere presses in, making each breath feel heavier than the last. Shinji, unable to ignore the suffocating stench that seeps through the apartment, finally reaches out to the real estate agent. On the other end of the line, the agent's voice falters, betraying a moment of unease. There is a pause, heavy and unnatural, before the agent offers only vague reassurances, their words carefully chosen. It is clear that something is being withheld, as if the walls themselves are hiding secrets too dreadful to speak aloud.